Hi, I'm Em from EmGameScoring and this is Sepulchre, the perfect game for spooky season. Created, designed and illustrated by the incredibly talented Matt Johnson and brought to you by Raven Portents. This is a super thematic game with an amazing box full of components. Sepulchre is a card drafting game for 2 to 4 players where the goal is to be the first player to build a set of 3 full skeletons in your grave. Sounds simple, but beware. It's not as easy as it seems. So are you brave enough to open the box? Here's how to play. In this amazing big box of treats, you have a rulebook, quick guides and separate deck guide, 4 graves and associated discard plots, 1 centre card crypt board, a coffin box full of skeleton pieces, a box of Sepulchre deck cards, and the components to build the ossuary. To set up, place the crypt board into the centre of the playing area, ensuring it's in reach of all the players. Next, attach the graves and associated discard plots to the centre board, 1 for each player. Give the deck cards a thorough shuffle and place them in the centre board. Build the ossuary by slotting the components together like this. And organise all the skeleton pieces into groups in the ossuary for easy access, or you can leave them inside the box if you prefer. The rules recommend appointing an undertaker, 1 person to be responsible for distributing the skeleton pieces. Once you're all set up, you're ready to play. Deal 7 cards to each player to form their starting hand. First player is determined by who most recently visited a grave. Turns are taken in a clockwise order, with each player playing cards face up into their discard plot. On your turn, you may play any of the 3 different types of cards from your hands. The first type of card we have is a skeleton card. These represent different skeleton parts and are played to build up skeletons in your grave. No skeleton pieces can be played until you've got a skull in your grave. You can only build 1 skeleton at a time, and skulls can be gained either via skeleton cards or specific cemetery cards. Alternatively, you can choose to start the game with a skull in every grave. On your turn, you can play as many skeleton cards as you want, in any order, and the pieces are reversible. If you complete a skeleton on your turn, you may not start building a new skeleton until your next turn. Secondly, we have decay cards. Playing a decay card against an opponent will force them to return pieces of their skeleton back to the ossuary. And wild decay cards allow you to remove any piece from your opponent's skeleton except a skull, with the caveat that you're not allowed to remove any pieces from a completed skeleton. The last type of card you can play are cemetery cards. These are powerful, mostly one-of-a-kind cards that allow you to take various actions to aid your pursuits or hinder your opponents. Read these cards carefully and reference the deck guide for more clarifications. Reading the card explains the card. So a typical turn might look something like this. I've got my skeleton cards. I can play a leg card to my grave and complete a leg in my skeleton. I've got another arm skeleton card that I can play and complete the arm on my skeleton. I already have a skull on this skeleton, so I can't play this because I can't start building another skeleton until this one is complete, so I can't play that. I can play Exhume, which allows me to add 1 piece, including a skull, to any of my opponent's skeletons, which seems very friendly, and it is if you're playing that way. So I'm going to add a ribcage to my friend, just helping them out and creating alliances. Then I have a wild decay card, and if I was feeling particularly mean, I could just take that ribcage right back off my opponent and put it back in the box. Lastly, I could play Funeral Wreath. This allows me to take the top discarded card from another player's pile back into my hand. I would need to discard down back to 7 cards if I was over 7. This allows me to take the top discarded card from any of the other players' piles into my hand. It must be the last card played on my turn, and I'm going to get my opponent back for playing that Decay Pelvis against me. Play that and take that back into my hand. At the end of the turn, I will draw back up to 7 cards. You can only target an opponent once per turn with either a decay card or a cemetery card, and you may only play as many cemetery or decay cards per turn as there are opposing players. In a 4-player game, this would be 3. If you're unable to play any cards, you may draw 1 and discard 1 from your hand, but this will represent the end of your turn. If the deck ever runs out, shuffle all the cards in the graveyard plots and create a new deck. At the end of your turn, draw back up to 7 cards, and if you lose any cards in between turns, you don't draw back up until the end of your turn. I won't explain every Cemetery card here, as there is a separate Cemetery card deck guide in the box for reference. However, here are some key cards to note. Family Heirloom. This card allows you to cancel a decay card and draw another card. Epitaph. This card allows you to complete a full skeleton providing you already have a skull and 2 other pieces in place. Cemetery Trees. This is a powerful card that stops players from discarding or obtaining cards. Timing is crucial for this one, as it can be played right before an opponent draws up to 7 cards, for example, preventing them from taking that action. It can also cancel out the impact of many of the other Cemetery cards. Haunt. This card allows you to steal a Cemetery card played by another player, letting you play or discard it instead. And that's how you play Sepulchre. I hope you enjoy the thematic gameplay and fun gotcha elements as much as I did.